What's up guys, this is Coach Donny with ElevateYourself.org. I would like to share with you a game that is dear to me called Chinese 9-man volleyball. 9-man is a unique form of volleyball that includes 9 people. It's like street ball but for volleyball. For those of you who don't know what street ball is, it's a rougher version of basketball where the rules are looser and the game is played on the streets and in urban neighborhoods. Let's talk about exactly what Chinese 9-man volleyball is. We play on asphalt or concrete. There are 9 players on the court with no rotation. The court measures 33 by 33 feet, which is slightly larger than the indoor sixes court, which is 30 by 30 feet. There is no 3-meter or 10-foot line, so everyone can attack front row. The net height measures 7 feet and 8.5 inches. Only 3 players can serve, and they can be any 3 players. When you serve, there must be 1 foot or any part of the foot in contact with the ground by the time you contact the ball. This also means that there is no jump serving. The double calls are looser than indoor. Lifts are still called, but are a little bit looser than indoor sixes. There is a unique move called a fastball, which is a quick throw. The fastball must be one fluid motion and in one direction. This also means that you cannot catch the ball and change the direction of the ball in the middle of the attack. You cannot penetrate the net at any time, whether I'm blocking, dumping the ball, or spiking. Balls that touch the net during a volley allows the team 1 additional touch during that volley. This allows some creative and quick thinking for setting.
Atta boy! Yes, sir! Atta boy, Mike! Oh, God! Atta boy! Yes, sir! Atta boy, Mike! Oh, God!
Blocks count as touches, so as soon as the ball touches the block, you have to set someone immediately. The ball can only touch any part of the arm below the elbow. That means it's an illegal contact if it touches any other part of the body. Six out of 9 people must be full Chinese, and the remaining 3 players on the court can be mixed Asian or of Asian descent. This includes Filipino, Thai, half Japanese and half white, Korean, and so on. This is called the content rule, which is in alignment with the eligible designated Asian countries. Before you form an opinion about 9-man, let me share with you the history of Chinese Americans so you can understand how the game of Chinese 9-man volleyball came to be. Many of the first Chinese immigrants came to the US during the 1850s for the gold rush, and then were recruited to work on the Transcontinental Railroad in the 1860s and helped develop the western frontier. Their labor was welcomed as long as there were plenty of jobs. But as an economic recession set in during the 1870s, Chinese workers were blamed for lowering wages and taking jobs away from white American workers. At the height of the anti-Chinese movement, Congress passed the Anti-Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 to ban Chinese immigration and deny Chinese residents the right to become US citizens. It was the first and only US immigration law to exclude a specific group on the basis of race or national origin, and it lasted until 1943. As a result, Chinese laborers could not send for their wives, establish families, and settle down in America. Local and state laws kept Chinese people from working in the public sector and certain occupations, attending white public schools, owning land and property, and marrying white Americans, which wasn't overturned by the Supreme Court until 1967. In addition to many discriminatory laws and repeated outbursts of racial violence, there were many social challenges that Chinese people faced. Chinese men in particular were viewed as racially inferior, unmasculine, diseased, immoral, and unfit for citizenship. It was very common for white Americans not to rent to Chinese tenants, hire Chinese workers, allow them to use public facilities like swimming pools and gyms, and integrate into mainstream society. Most Chinese men were laborers during the early 1900s, which means they worked in restaurants or did laundry. Imagine working 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 days per week, having no family, no woman to marry, and limited social activities. 9-man volleyball was a game that was formed out of intense racial discrimination and segregation, and playing 9-man was their only outlet from slave-like labor, racial exclusion, and loneliness. Now, we'll talk about how Chinese 9-man volleyball was started and why we still play it today. Volleyball was created in 1895 in the US and was brought over to Asia by Christian missionaries from North America. Chinese people were taught one of the original forms of volleyball, which included 9 people and many of the original rules that I described earlier in this video. Then Chinese immigrants brought it to the US Chinatowns during the early 1900s. Chinese people in America started playing 9-man in the 1930s. They played on streets or vacant lots because they weren't allowed in public gyms or to participate in local volleyball leagues or teams. They played with 9 people, a lower net, and many of the original rules from volleyball because that was the only form of volleyball that they knew. What's fascinating is you can look at the original rules of volleyball during the early 1900s and see how many of these rules are still the same in 9-man today. 9-man became a popular form of recreation in Chinatowns across the United States and Canada. The first North American Chinese Invitational Volleyball Tournament was held in Boston in 1944 and included major Chinatowns across North America. The National 9-Man Tournament was a great opportunity for Chinatown communities and Asian American athletes to play competitive volleyball, socialize with people who endured similar hardships, commune together, and play for pride. The tournament still takes place on Labor Day weekend and rotates between 7 cities: Boston, Los Angeles, Montreal, Toronto, New York, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. Nine-man volleyball is something that Chinese Americans have always called their own, and a tradition that Chinese Americans can pass on to future generations. It's a game that's evolved over the last 80 years on its own and grown to 60 men's teams and 40 women's teams. On a side note, the women play regular sixes volleyball while the men play only nine-man volleyball at the national tournament.
Chinese man.
Joke. Two.
Resources are a little limited in Chinatown. This is Chinatown athletic training. We got the ice pack. They can't tape it, so we had to find a garbage bag. This is real. It's real life. Nine-man still going late into the evening.
It's amazing that I still experience racial prejudice as a player, coach, and everyday American. I still get comments like, "Wow, you're really good for an Asian," or "chink," or "go back to China." Even in California, which is one of the most diverse states in the United States of America. On top of that, Asian males are still emasculated in the media and are viewed as weak and not athletic. And that just pisses me off. Playing nine-man is much more than just volleyball to me and many other Asian American athletes. It's a form of tribute to the first Chinese American immigrants who endured incredible hardship so that we can thrive today and keep our Chinese heritage alive. I also love nine-man volleyball because of the community, culture, it's fast-paced, and it's really good volleyball. If you're interested in learning more about nine-man, there is a fantastic documentary about the game and the history of the game that you can watch on the website www.nineman.com. I want to give a special thanks to Professor Judy for helping me with the historical facts of Chinese American history. I also want to thank Wally for consulting on nine-man history and rules. For the next month or so, I'll be posting a lot of nine-man games so you guys can learn more about the game and enjoy watching the fast-paced and exciting environment that nine-man volleyball provides. You might be wondering why I'm wearing this red shirt. I play for a team called SF Dragon Fire, and this is my jersey. I play left side attacker and serving specialist, and occasionally back row. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you learned a lot about Chinese nine-man volleyball, and I look forward to sharing more nine-man volleyball games with you guys.
These are our chairs.
These been in a 9-man documentary.
It's a real nightmare.
I knew that Chinatown